Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. My name is Glenn, and I'm here with Adam and Colin, and your Overwatch League news starts now.
One shot, one kill.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 1. If you didn't listen to episode 0 was a quick intro to your 3 hosts. I'm Glenn.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Colin.
And this is Overwatch League
Now.
The OW stands for Overwatch, and then the now stands for now.
Also, I wasn't saying now. That's the name.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The name is Overwatch League.
Now.
And now, let's talk Overwatch League.
Let's talk Overwatch League, ladies and gentlemen.
Now.
12 teams.
A lot of teams.
12 teams.
So this episode, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick recap of a lot of the news that we heard from Blizzcon and currently what we're standing on before the preseason starts in December. Just kind of recapping the teams, kind of going over their where they're from, going over some of the players, going over stadiums, going over rules, going over, just the general basics of what the league is going to consist, and then we'll go into a couple of specifics as we move on. So, Adam, why don't you start us off with our 12 teams?
All right. So our 12 teams, very similar to traditional sports leagues. They're divided into 2 divisions. We have the Atlantic Division and the Pacific Division. Very clear what those mean. In the Atlantic Division, it's going to be mostly your East Coast, continental United States-based teams.
Oh, Atlantic.
Yeah, that's what the Atlantic means. The now stands for now. We have, out of Boston, Massachusetts, we have the Boston Uprising. Our hometown team out of Orlando and Miami, Florida, we have the Florida Mayhem.
Woo!
Out of Houston, Texas, we have the Houston Outlaws.
Also woo.
Across the pond in London, we have the London Spitfire. In New York City, we have the New York Excelsior. In Philadelphia, we have the Philadelphia Fusion. So 6 teams in our Atlantic Division. Before we get to the Pacific Division, what do you guys think? I mean, other than there being, a bunch of incredible logos, I think the Atlantic Division, it stacks up really good city choices. I think that the team names are great. What do you guys think about that Atlantic Division?
I'm a big fan of the Atlantic Division, and the Atlantic Division is special because our home team is special, Florida Mayhem. We are the only team that so far does not look like it has any subs in it. So either they're really confident.
It's a 6-player team.
Yeah.
All of them international players.
Yep.
Most of them are from Sweden. What is it?
Norway and Sweden. Yep.
4 from Sweden, 1 from Finland.
Oh, Finland, that's right.
And 1 from Belgium.
I'm actually pretty, I'm both nervous and excited that we have no subs because they obviously have to have a lot of faith in these people if they're wanting to keep these the regulars. But also, if anything happens, we got to pull in someone.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that sprained wrist is really going
to... Listen, I'm sure at some point the Adderall is going to take its toll. And
NyQuil can only get you so far.
I don't know if you see how esports teams train, but subs wouldn't be a bad idea. Overall, though, Atlantic Division is pretty strong.
So before we keep going, are we seriously just splitting things up? Like, is that how the league is going to work, or are we just doing that based on, or just talking points for right now?
So
is it Atlantic and a different division, or is it? I thought it was just all like one league, and they're just gonna. How's that gonna work?
So for season 1, obviously they're centralizing everything in LA.
Right.
After season 1, everything kind of splits off.
Right.
But as for right now, everyone's playing everyone. Have you seen the...
We only have 12 teams. I mean, everybody's going to have to play everybody. We just have repeats of matches and stuff like that at that point, right?
Well, at that point, it becomes a lot more like once everything kind of gets split up, have you seen the Mayhem's opening schedule or the season 1 like play schedule?
I haven't seen the opening play schedule. What I've seen is the preseason schedule.
Well, that's like, at least for the Mayhem, that's only one game, I believe.
Yeah, it's one game on Wednesday, December 6th against the Philadelphia Fusion.
That is correct. So, I do not know if it's going to be strictly like, oh, it's Atlantic versus Pacific.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for right now, it seems like it's kind of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, so they're going to be playing each team, like Colin was mentioning, during that first season, before each of these teams can find their permanent home in their cities. They're going to be playing at the Blizzard Arena that's in Los Angeles. So they're going to have that centralized from the press conference at BlizzCon. It sounded like they were going to provide a streaming service on their website to be able to, interact with the teams and watch the games in real time. But the whole league is set up very interestingly, and if we move over to the Pacific Division, we'll notice that one city actually has 2 teams. So in that Pacific Division, we have the Dallas Fuel, based out of Dallas, Texas. Yeah. The Los Angeles Gladiators and the Los Angeles Valiant, both based out of LA. Just up the road a little bit, we have the San Francisco Shock in San Francisco, California. In South Korea, we've seen their following on Twitter already. They have a massive outreach program with their fans. We have the Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons in Shanghai, China.
Yep. And just as a quick addendum, looking at the Mayhem's first season, it honestly does look like every team is just playing every team. So there's no clear division split up, at least for right now. But that's not saying that things aren't going to change in, say, like season 2 or later down the line. It's just, I'm pretty sure just everything has to be kept centralized right now, since they're wanting to keep it all in LA until everyone kind of finds like a home stadium.
Which would be interesting, especially for a lot of our like in-state players. I mean, like probably not our Florida players, but Dallas Fuel or any of the guys from LA, like traveling overseas to go play these games later on, after this season would be so huge. Like what a freaking experience, you know what I mean? Like you're going overseas to play in essentially like a video game match like that. Like who would have thought that this is where you would be professionally, as one of these guys. Like I'm sure it's just beyond some of their wildest dreams. It's just so cool. But I'm really excited. I mean, 12 teams is not a whole lot of teams to start out, but it's a lot. And to be honest, I mean, sure, we have 12 teams, but each one of them has what, 8 to 10 players? I mean, we're talking over about 100 guys on the roster. Like that's a lot of people. So I mean, we have subs. We're gonna have to rotate people out depending on the match.
I mean, a team like the Seoul Dynasty, they have, compared to our just 6 spot that we have, they have 11 players.
Yeah, that's a lot, and a lot of them. I don't know if you guys were able to catch the World Cup. A lot of these guys on the Dynasty team were the winning team for.
It makes
the World Cup. It makes sense.
And I mean, just in general, not to kind of generalize anything, but I mean, the South Korean team is going to be a beast no matter what. Especially when a whole country seemingly is hyper focused on one studio, which has consistently been Blizzard. Whether it's StarCraft, StarCraft 2, and now Overwatch, the South Korea as an entire country has just been on top of this game.
Yeah,
and all the insanely pro hardcore competitive Overwatch players have been from and around South Korea.
Yeah.
They love the game. They love Blizzard. And I do not envy anyone that's going directly up against them in any of these seasons.
Well, I'm sure the mentality over there is a lot different than what we have here. I mean, in the States, I don't know. I can't compare. I'm not a pro gamer. I only want to be. But a lot of the mentality in overseas is like, and you can watch, if you go to the Overwatch League website, they have these really cool videos that are essentially insights into some of the players, and they do one that I'm a huge fan of with one of our Korean players, and they essentially just say, like, we walk into this knowing we're gonna win, like believing that we're gonna win, and anything else is unacceptable. Like they go into this with that headstrong mentality, which I think is very admirable. I mean, like if you walk into this with the wrong mentality, you're part of a team. If you crumble, the rest of your team's gonna crumble as well.
And I think the season is going to be really grueling, because if we look at the amount of games that are going to be played, each season over the course of those 4 or 5 months, each team is going to be playing 40 games. So they're going to be playing
40 games.
40 games. They're going to be playing each of their division teams. They're going to be playing 20 matches in their division and 20 matches out of their division.
See, and that's what actually kind of worries me a little bit about Florida Mayhem is like subs aren't there exclusively for like, oh, if something happens, we just sub someone in. It's like that's exhausting.
Yeah.
That's really like grueling. And I mean, I'm sure you guys know, like just playing casually, you get burnt out at some point. And these are people that aren't like at this point they're not playing casually at all.
Yeah, they're definitely not missing their ults.
Yeah, it's like they're they're training, and so they have to be on when they're training, and then they're obviously going up against everyone, and they have to be on during that. And when it's only 6 people, like these are the faces that we as Florida fans and everyone else are going to really get familiar with.
Right.
And it's going to be kind of tough for them to be on for like you said, 40 games?
Yeah, and it looks like, so we have our preseason starting December 6th through the 9th, where, as we mentioned, the Florida Mayhem are going to be facing off against the Philadelphia Fusion. Stage 1, the season's broken up into 4 different stages.
Over 5 weeks, right?
Yep, they're about a month to 5 weeks long, each of the stages. So stage 1 is going to run from, it looks like January 19th to February 10th. And then we have stage 2 starting February 21st. So only 11 days in between each stage until the 24th of March.
Not a lot of time to recoup.
No.
As kind of a aside, for stage 1 alone, the prize pool is $125 million.
Are you sure it's 125 million and not 125,000? Double check your zeros.
Yeah, so for the
okay.
for the stages, the
Fun fact. Okay, addendum there. Colin was dumb. So
numbers are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $125,000, which is not an insubstantial amount of money.
So the first place team in each of the stages wins $100,000. That second place team takes home $25,000. So they're going to be giving out $500,000 over these 4 stages.
Yeah.
That's not even the championship team. Those aren't even the playoffs. This is just for doing well in the season.
Yeah.
They're giving out $500,000. That just shows
That's a lot of incentive.
how much. Yeah.
Blizzard is really investing in this. Like they kind of want to draw attention away from any other Overwatch League, and I mean, so we're all familiar with pre-existing competitive Overwatch teams and stuff, but I think we all know that at the moment Overwatch as an esports game kind of pales in comparison popularity-wise when you look at something like CS:GO or even Madden and Call of Duty have crazy competitions and stuff.
I mean, even Blizzard's own Heroes of the Storm, we have.
No, those, yeah.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
And so it really seems like Blizzard is putting in a lot of money to take Overwatch, which I mean, obviously a good amount of people enjoy, and bring it out of kind of this second-rate esports game where it's kind of existing right now into the limelight. They're putting a lot down on this.
I think that another interesting thing to note is very much like how the 2K League exists. I know I'm going off on a sports tangent, as I'm known to do.
Nerd.
Sports nerd. The NBA 2K League, each of the NBA teams actually have a professional 2K player that is assigned to their team that plays in this fantasy 2K league for prizes. And having those names backing, we have an Orlando Magic 2K player or an LA Lakers 2K player.
Yeah.
Very much along those same lines. I mean, you have these major gaming companies like Misfits standing beside Blizzard trying to make this league work. And I think that that's something that this league is really going to bring, the level of competition and, the how ferocious each of these teams are going to be to try and win these prizes. It's going to be, as a fan and viewer, it's going to be incredible to watch.
That and the community. I mean, we talked about this last episode. We talked about how the community is so supportive and so loving of this game that each individual team already has its fan base. So as a Blizzard community, as an Overwatch community, we're going to go into this 100%, and they're just bringing all these diehards that are all international diehards. We're talking about, and this may just be me growing up, but soccer is the only sport that reaches everybody on an international level. So this is. I mean, we're not comparing soccer and the Overwatch League. Okay, you're like, well, that's not what we're doing here. I'm just using it as an example. Like this is. I'm just saying that this is working on an international level with fans from all different ages watching these teams do something that has never been done before.
And they're starting up this league in kind of an age of hyperconnectivity. If you go to if you go to obviously Overwatch League's official Twitter page, they have the links to every team's individual Twitter.
Yeah.
And every team's individual Twitter already has its own personality, and you can just kind of see by the follower counts of each team. I mean, the Mayhem alone already has 9,200 people following it, and that's Florida. Yeah. Like we're not even talking about New York or Boston. Like Boston, the Uprising has 15,000 followers.
What's the Seoul Dynasty at, I wonder?
Oh, they are
the Seoul
19,000.
Yeah,
oh,
19,000 for Seoul. And then, like, New York Excelsiors have about 11,000. But, I mean, the Mayhem having 9,000, like, 9,200 isn't anything to sneeze at. And that's only, like, the lower end of fan followers. And this is a league that hasn't even started yet. Like, we haven't even gotten to the first preseason of the first season.
Just so you guys know, Houston Outlaws, almost 31,000 followers.
Just
for those of you that couldn't see, Colin
just so everyone has like full transparency, I'm from Houston, Texas, and so like right now on camera, like I fully support Florida, and I'll probably fully support Florida like off camera, but like my heart is going to be supporting Houston a lot as well.
Who has more than that?
Traitor.
Want to know who has more
who
than
won
that?
the World Series? But
Hey.
Sorry.
San Francisco Shock. Almost 90,000.
I'm shocked. I'm also shocked when you look at these bonuses that Blizzard's offering for this league. They are offering over $1.3 million in bonuses. Again, this isn't the playoffs. These are just performance bonuses. So that first place team is going to win $300,000. The second place team takes home $200,000. The third and fourth place team take home $150,000. And each team after that, in increments of two, so fifth and sixth place, seventh and eighth, ninth and 10th, 11th and 12th, will take home roughly $50,000 less than the team below them.
So if you end up in 12th place, what do you get?
$25,000.
That's 12th place. Coming in last nets you $25,000.
Yeah, I mean that's nothing to sneeze at. And like I said, like the level of this competition, I mean I can't sneeze at coming in 12th place because, you know, even if they're the worst team in the Overwatch League, they are still substantially better than most humans that play Overwatch would ever hope to be.
It's kind of like you get into that Olympics situation where, like, you see a gymnast do an insanely, like, difficult move that they've worked their entire lives to pull off, and, like, you're on the couch and you're like, I could probably do
shoveling
that.
Doritos in your mouth. You're like
I could probably do that.
You didn't stick the landing on that one.
But Overwatch is, and a lot of video games are really interesting where, like, there are certain characters where you can obviously see the skill level on a different level. Like someone like Lucio, if you see a high-level Lucio player, I barely believe that they touch the ground at all. Like, they're flying around, they're booping, they're playing insane. But a lot of characters, their skill is super subtle looking. Like, if you look at top-level Winston players, it just looks like they're jumping around everywhere, not really aiming their Tesla rifle. But they're working in ways that look extremely simple. But if you were to switch on to Winston, it's incredible. It's incredibly hard
I've got a bunch of hours clocked in a Winston, and it is. I mean, it's you're jumping in and out. Like you're like Tracer, you're blinking in and out, but you're such a huge target. But your purpose is completely different. Like you just have to understand the role that character plays based on their abilities. Like it's the mechanics that is something that we just keep referring back to. The mechanics of this game and the understanding these players have for these mechanics and how they are able to just use this as almost like it's second nature, like a third arm. Like it's incredible. It's all just reactions, things that most of us don't have. So it's incredible.
That's it. It takes training and
talent.
And obviously talent, but there's also a reason there's kind of like a high burnout rate, and why the kind of age group for these players are so, I guess, narrow. It's because this is really a burn bright kind of competition, not just Overwatch, but esports as a whole. Like when they're in there, when they're competing, they're using 100% of whatever they got.
Yeah.
And this money that any one of these members of any one of these teams walks away with, that's going to set them up and probably support them for a while.
Yeah, and their talent's not going to go unnoticed, because if we're throwing out that big sexy number that we all want to talk about, which is the championship prize, it's $1 million.
And obviously they have sponsors and stuff throwing money in there, but I cannot stress enough how much Blizzard is wanting to make this happen and how much they're working into legitimizing, fully supporting, and just for Series 1, they're coming out with everything they got. They're building up a league that they want to persist for a while.
Well, we can all agree this is really exciting, and we cannot wait for the first preseason game. We've gone over teams, we've gone over locations where this is all going to take place in LA. Any particular players you guys are interested in? I mean, like we said, we got close to 100 players. We can't go over the full roster, but anybody specific you guys are diehard fans of, or anybody you're really excited to see?
I'll fully admit, Glenn, you are most likely more active in the streamer or Twitch community, so your eyes would probably be more well attuned for these characters. I personally am just going to have to see how each one operates in their own setting within the Overwatch League before I make any drastic decisions. I'm excited for all the people that are ending up in the Florida Mayhem and a small bit in the Houston Outlaws, but I'm really just going to have to see them all in action, because you could probably watch their individual streams and just see how they react on their own. But if you caught our last episode, we talked a lot about how Overwatch is 90% teamwork and communication and just making sure everyone is on the same page as you. Switching out characters without really calling it out works in quick play, and may work if you're solo queuing competitive, but when you're at this level, you don't have just random character switch outs. You have plays.
Absolutely.
You have
strategies. You have
predetermined
runs that you're gonna do.
If player X changes from McCree to Tracer, then this is how we accommodate and shift our play style.
Absolutely.
And it's sometimes if certain things aren't working, entire teams just switch to different characters to completely switch up their strategy, kind of throw the other team off their balance, because it's all about acting and counteracting.
I know one player that I'm super excited for is on the San Francisco Shock. It's Nomi, David Ramirez. He is an Overwatch player from Mexico. That is a country whose, you don't really hear about a lot about their Overwatch culture and their playing styles and, their streamers. But Nomi is a tank player. I'm showing a little bit of my tank bias. But he plays a lot of Reinhardt and he plays a lot of Winston. And I like to ask myself when I'm playing competitive, would Nomi do this? would he charge directly in? Because the answer is probably not, because Nomi's positioning is just incredible. Watching him truly command, movement and choke points and really he's doing exactly what a tank should do, and that is control the flow of the game and make sure that you are not only protecting your DPS, your damage producers, but kind of controlling where
your healers too.
Your healers,
all your support,
controlling where your enemies are going and making sure that you push them the way you want them.
It's actually a little bit off topic, but on the subject of tanks, Blizzard with that recently revealed Reinhardt short. I thought it was
so good.
It was extremely good, but I felt it was really interesting that the short itself kind of felt like a tutorial on how to play Reinhardt. It kind of felt like Blizzard
tapped into the community.
Exactly. Tapped into the community. And saw that there were a lot of like complaints that like, Reinhardt has a hammer, but he shouldn't be charging it alone and fighting. So it kind of seems like they created an entire short around, be the shield. And, I mean, that works for Reinhardt, but every single tank is important. Zarya has her, damage boosting to insane levels. Winston has diving in and out. Reinhardt has shield. D.Va just
the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest tank. I love playing D.Va.
I always look at D.Va as like a complete wild card because everyone who plays D.Va
plays it a little differently.
Exactly. Some people really play her as like a pseudo Reinhardt, diving in using the defense matrix to suck up an ult or anything that would probably kill.
Damage.
Yeah, that would like focus on healers and stuff. I've seen others that are extremely aggressive because when you don't have to reload, you don't have to stop shooting.
That's very true.
It's just there's a lot of intense things that go into being a tank.
Absolutely. Well, that is great. I mean, like we've said, we're based out of Orlando. We love the Florida Mayhem. We're going to support these guys as they take on their journey. Adam and Colin have said this. I love watching these guys on YouTube. I follow individual streams, and to be 100% honest with you guys, like I think the Dallas Fuel. And this is me being biased. I just follow these guys a lot more often. I'm ready to see what these guys can do. I mean, you got Siegel, you've got Taimu, you've got XQC, you've got Mickey. Like, these guys are incredible, and most of them played in the World Cup as well. I'm pretty sure XQC won the MVP, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he won the most valuable player for the World Cup overall.
I think you were right about that.
And I'd definitely say that Siegel is probably one of the most mainstream, well-known names.
Yeah, he is definitely.
And I think Dallas is going to get a lot of attention solely because Siegel's on there, at least from the American side of things. I mean, you have a lot of insanely popular, like South Korean players, but when it comes to just straight-up American players, I can't think of a lot
Siegel's
more.
Probably one of the most
I can't think of a lot more players that are more well known than Siegel.
He's definitely well known internationally as well. I mean, he is an incredible player and
spent
just a great streamer. I mean, in general,
he spent a lot of time in Korea, right?
I think so.
Yeah, like I remember watching a lot of his streams, and he was just spending time over there playing on their servers, and I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So. A lot of stuff to look out for. I mean, a lot of these guys are for the first time playing with this individual comp of different players. I mean, everybody's coming from different places, different teams, so it's going to be really interesting to see how everybody interacts and works together. All of these guys stand by themselves individually. All of these people can carry their own teams. So it's going to be really great to see what they come up with and what they actually bring to the league.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we already talked about this World Cup. We had a Korean team win. Most of these guys are on now the Dynasty team. And fair enough. On the Dynasty team, and now XQC on the Dallas team. So we have these notable players that are really going to carry this league as well, and it's going to be really interesting to watch. So season, we said how long? 40 weeks?
It's going to be 40 games
40
over
games.
four different like segments of the season.
Yeah.
Each about a month long. So there's going to be about 4 to 4.5 months for this season. So it's about as long as a traditional sports season, maybe a little shorter, but it's about as long as an NFL season.
Yeah, and every game day has at least, I think, 4 to 5 matchups per day. on like a strict schedule, starting at like around like 11 a.m. or noon.
Yep.
Yeah, just about.
Going into the evening. So, for those of you that are hardcore Overwatch League fans, like
Set that alarm.
set that alarm early and prepare for days full of streams and matches because it's we're in for a ride.
Absolutely.
It's definitely not going to be like a short trip either. Like this first season, it is definitely as long as just a traditional like sports season. Starts in like January?
January.
Yeah, it starts in January, stretches all the way to summer. So
it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about this particular person, not our Lord and Savior, Jeff Kaplan, hallowed be thy name.
Bless.
But our commissioner for the Overwatch League.
The commish,
not Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Nate Nanzer.
What a name.
What up, Nanzer?
What up, Nanzer? Just like any actual legitimate league, we have a commissioner, and this guy has been tapped into the world for a while, and I have not heard the name until now, but I gotta say I'm pretty impressed. I mean, he's right now the global director of the Overwatch esports. Before that, he was the director of global research and consumer insights for Blizzard over there. He was the vice president of games at Maggot, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not really sure, but it's Frank and Maggot Associates, which was a consumer-centered business strategy company.
He's
So
a pretty sexy-looking LinkedIn page.
Yeah,
he obviously has a lot of experience in this, and even though this is his
Absolutely.
first dedicated like commissioner role, he is not new to the world of esports.
No,
Like,
absolutely not. Not only esports, but just gaming in general in the game community.
Exactly. I have no doubt that he's gonna be carrying this on the up and up. Like he's probably just as invested in this as Blizzard as a whole is invested in this.
Absolutely, and he's from your neck of the woods, Adam. George Washington University.
Oh, that's a rival college. We prefer not to talk about that.
That was actually really insensitive, Glenn.
I'm sorry. How dare I?
I went to the other George.
Oh, the other George.
Yep. But no, it's just very clear to me that Nate Nanzer and the entire team at Blizzard, they want this to succeed, and I think that they're making all of the right moves to really make this league as appealing to as many people as possible. And I think that, like I said, and it's a cliche, but we're really in for a ride. We're in for something that's never been done before, and I think that it's gonna change the way that the world looks at esports.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we've gone pretty much over everything that we had on our list. Is there anything else you guys think we should touch on before we peace out?
Not necessarily right now, but further down the road, maybe next episode or so, we are going to dive a little bit more in depth on a team-per-team basis. I know I said I was pretty unfamiliar with the players, and I don't doubt that there are more than a few players that the rest of you guys aren't as familiar with. So just kind of leading up into the preseason, we're going to be looking into each team and hopefully each player a little bit more individually.
And for sure, we're definitely going to take an in-depth look at the Florida Mayhem, for sure. I mean, we're Florida-based. This is our team. We're going to take them on.
Or maybe going to squeeze the Houston Outlaws in there somewhere.
We might do them the last week. And let's see. I think we covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Nate Nanzer, I forgive you, even though you went to the other George. It's okay. We can still be friends. You can look me up on my LinkedIn. If you have any, career opportunities, anything like that, I would be. This is again not sponsored content, but LinkedIn, not sponsored content, LinkedIn. But no, I'm just really excited, and I think that this Overwatch League it's gonna be great for esports, and it's gonna be amazing to watch. I'm glad to be a fan.
Yeah, I'm just definitely excited from just the viewer experience. Like, just I admittedly I've never been into like esports, but just seeing the crowds that go into like League of Legends matches or Dota matches, like I'm just excited for that kind of atmosphere and all these people coming together for just a game they love, teams that hopefully they're going to grow to love, and a league that obviously has a lot of
potential.
potential and love and care and time invested in it.
Absolutely. All right, well, guys, well, if you want to reach out to us, make sure to tweet us on Twitter. Adam.
It's going to be at OW League Now. The OW stands for Overwatch, and the Now stands for Now. So that's at OW League Now.
And look us up on Overwatch League Now.
And Adam, do we have a subreddit?
At this time, we do not have a subreddit.
Oh, okay. I just thought you were going to make a subreddit.
You wanted me to make a Reddit page or an entire subreddit?
I want this to be an entire subreddit. And I want people that aren't us to be the moderators on it.
Okay, got it. Let me just, hit up all my Reddit friends at I am Snoop Dogg and all my connections and make that a thing. But no, I'm really excited about our subreddit and this league.
So we got the Twitter page, and where else can they find us on?
Eventually, we will be moving on to YouTube. We're going to try to get on iTunes. Hopefully, that's where you guys are listening to us. And we are also going to be on SoundCloud, so keep an eye out for that. Just look up Overwatch League Now, and you should be able to find us. Make sure to tweet us, and we're going to catch you guys next time. All right? All right. My name is Glenn, and I'm here with...
Adam, stay on the payload.
And Colin, go off and do your own thing.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good one.
One shot, one kill.
Heroes never die.